Tonight, we announce the name of Disney's upcoming streaming service. We wrap up season 3 of Daredevil, and we take time to commemorate some of the great veterans of the Marvel Universe, as it is Veterans Day. Marvel TV Weekly starts now!
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Oh, that's right. It is Marvel TV Weekly, and sadly, it is our final Devil song. We've had, I think, the last 4 weeks, basically a month of Devil songs.
It's been fun.
I've enjoyed it very much, and this was I was saving the best for last for me personally.
Of course, Van Halen,
and,
yes.
Yeah, you know, right up there with Shout at the Devil, Motley Crue. But yeah, we are going to wrap up Daredevil season 3. And as you probably know, Z and I already did that on the Daredevil After Show, which was just a few hours ago. So if you want to check that out, it's already archived at AfterBuzz TV's Sci-Fi Fantasy. Yeah, I'm leaving something out. I forget which network that is.
Sci-Fi, Fantasy, and more.
And more. So there you go. We're part of the and more, although we are sci-fi and fantasy.
Sci-fi and fantasy.
Superheroes, that's it.
There you go. Thanks.
And I am Christian Bladt, joined as always by Xia Anderson, or as I call her, Xia Landerson.
Hey guys, Xia Anderson back again.
Who's doing her third of 3 shows in a row.
Yes.
Back to back to back.
Talked
Good
about
for you.
Daredevil, then Doctor Who, and now I'm back to talk about more Daredevil.
But we're going to talk about some other Marvel things first. And Zia's going to keep an eye on the chat. So if you're in the chat, ZSB Lou, we look to hear from you and your thoughts on all of this. And I'm going to go through 10 great veterans of the Marvel Universe because, as I said in the intro, it is Veterans Day. If I leave anyone out that you'd like to suggest, please go ahead and leave those in the comments. And if you're watching the archive version, you can leave it there too, and we'll talk about it next week. So as I mentioned also at the top of the show, we do now know the name of the Disney streaming service, which I thought had been announced at some point, but there's already something called Disney Now, which is how you can watch shows on Disney XD, such as Marvel's Spider-Man. But the new service is going to be called Disney Plus. And they have definitely confirmed the Loki series with Tom Hiddleston. And I think that there's still not official word on the Scarlet Witch show with Elizabeth Olsen and the, as we talked about last week, the Winter Soldier Falcon show with Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie. But we're feeling like that's all going to happen. And I'm excited for this service. Because one, I have 2 small children, so I would get it for that, but I would get it for myself because of the Star Wars. So any Marvel content in there is going to be gravy, and I'm very excited. Xia, your thoughts about Disney Plus as you hear about it?
Well, I'm definitely going to have it, first of all, just because of the shows previously mentioned. I'm going to have to watch them, whether they're going to be good or bad.
Right.
I have a feeling they're going to be good just because of the level of actors that they have. On top of the budget, I'm assuming that they're going to want to use for the show. So I have high hopes for it. It's a little bit of a bummer just because I don't want to have to pay for so many different streaming services, but I want all the shows. Like, I'm going to need Netflix because they have great content.
Yeah, exactly. So you want Netflix, and then Hulu's done a good job of generating their own content.
They have.
And Amazon Prime I have mostly because of the shipping for buying Amazon products. But Amazon Prime has great shows.
Yes.
Also, the first 10 seasons of the Doctor Who reboot are on Amazon Prime and only on Amazon Prime, so that's another reason right there.
Which, by the way, I'm going to go back and watch.
Great. Well, we will have a conversation about that
Yes, we
somewhere
will.
else in the future. So there's already those services. And because one of the shows I do here is Star Trek Weekly, I have CBS All Access. Kind of let it lapse for a few months because Star Trek's not back till January. But still, so there's already that. The one that I don't have, DC Universe. Yawn, not interested. Suck it, Titans. I don't care. But for a lot of people, they would want to have that. So I understand.
I wanted to watch Titans. I actually do want, I'm curious about the show. And
Sure.
I do want to watch it. But I don't want to get that service just for one show.
The smart thing that they've done with that is that you can also read comics on that service. You know, you can read like I don't know if it's like everything in the like 80 years history of DC, but it's good. It offers some value to it, and there will be other series, including Doom Patrol. And I know this isn't DC TV news, but I'm just saying. But that's the easy one for me to not get personally. But yeah, there's Disney Plus, and let us know in the chat if you think you're going to get Disney Plus. They've been very upfront and said that they want it to cost less than Netflix. So is Netflix $9.99 now, or am I wrong? And it's even more than that because
thought it went
I
up.
have the auto renewal on my credit card because I just don't. Thank you, Anthony. At Tony B. Tony in the booth. So you got to plug early in the show for being so helpful.
Yeah.
And so whatever it is, it'll be a little cheaper. I think Hulu's a little cheaper than Netflix, all that. And I don't know. I'm going to get it, but let us know in the chat if you definitely have to get it, if you're going to try to avoid getting it, if you're going to try and find those shows through less than savory means. I don't want to know about it. But
Okay, everybody, I brought out some number. Oh, let me fix my stuff. Stand by.
standing by.
Okay, is that... all right. I'll just talk really loud. All right, so numbers. Basic is $8, and that's standard resolution with one screen at once. And
That's for
then-
Netflix.
Yes, standard streaming is $11 for 2 screens at once, and that's HD. And you get the premium for $14 a month, 4 screens at once, and you get the HD plus Ultra HD resolution.
Ooh.
You know what? I don't even know which one I have. I probably have the middle one.
I think I have that one as well.
Yeah, I definitely don't have 4K Ultra. It just sounds made up. I don't think that's really a thing. I don't need to see anything in that because I don't have a good enough TV.
You say that now.
Well, if I had a better TV, I'd probably care. But
Exactly.
it's true.
It's kind of amazing.
There was actually a point where I was like, HD, what's the difference? Yeah, this is going back like 12, 13 years. I'm like, I don't need HD. And then you go to somebody's house where they have it and you go like, oh. So maybe I'll be like that. But anyway, I want this service. I'm going to get it. There's no two ways about it. But some of you might feel differently. Speaking of streaming services and Netflix, we have just some news that, interestingly enough, of all the Marvel content on Netflix, the most watched show is Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I find to be interesting. If our friend Amy Cassandra Martinez was with her, she was with us, she'd be very excited because that is her favorite. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that the show airs on a broadcast network. And people maybe fall behind a couple seasons and go like, oh, you know what? I want to catch up on that. I know that, again, referencing another universe, that Gotham, the DC Universe show on Fox, does okay on broadcast television, but apparently the streaming previous seasons, it actually helps elevate the show's overall numbers. So I find that interesting. And now, Xia, have you never seen even a minute of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or you just don't watch regularly?
I haven't. I haven't seen any of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know, and I know I need to watch it from
There's 110 episodes.
I know.
But you have a year to catch up. It's not going to be till next summer.
True.
If our friend Zach Wilson from the Daredevil After Show and the Doctor Who After Show, if he knew that you'd never seen any, he would be like, go home and watch it right now.
I feel like I already got that lecture from Amy.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I think you did. Yeah. So,
And Ivan in the chat. S.H.I.E.L.D. is amazing.
and since it's come up organically in conversation, let's give a shout out to our sister network, the Popcorn Talk Network, where Marvel Movie News is going to move to Thursdays at 1 o'clock, featuring Zach Wilson and Amy Cassandra Martinez.
Yay.
And every once in a while, these two faces that you see on this show might show up over there just to say hi. It's a little guest spot.
God, let's hope not.
Oh, no. I forgot that Venom was in the booth again. Oh, man.
Dang it.
I bet you missed me, didn't you?
No, I didn't miss you because we're not going to get any work done now.
Oh, you were saying last night.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, it's true.
not what your
I was
mom
really,
said.
I was really hungry and I ate out of a dumpster thanks to that guy. But anyway, so I think it's interesting, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that this show's on a broadcast network. I also think it is a great show. Little up and down for me some seasons, but I like that it's regarded that highly, and maybe that will help it get. This is supposedly its last season, this 13 episode season that'll start next summer, but who knows? We've thought it was going to end before, so we will keep an eye on that.
I know it's gonna end.
We're just going to end sometime.
Yeah,
I mean,
just like everything.
All right, that wasn't helpful.
All good things come to an end, yes.
Yeah, and yeah, even bad things too. So hopefully you can get shot back into space, or maybe we could just get Carnage to replace you. That would probably be all right.
Great things never end.
Carnage is a much more handsome version of Venom. Anyway, one other news story that we have is Brie Larson tweeted out a photo of her as Captain Marvel, surrounded by Rock the Vote posters from the Captain Marvel movie. And someone on Reddit went through the effort to zoom in on the payphone she's standing at and see what the phone number was.
Wow.
And call the phone number. Now, the phone number, oddly enough, You know what? I'm not going to disagree with Venom on that one. The phone number, oddly enough, had previously been sort of a stock phone number used in Disney Channel productions mostly. I think like Zack and Cody, they would use this number. And if you had called it back then, it would just say that this isn't a real phone number. We just use it on our productions. But apparently, they let that get canceled. And it is now apparently, according to an article I read, not because I called it myself. No, seriously, I didn't call it yet. Did you just crack your knuckle into the mic?
Sorry,
Yikes.
I don't know why I did that.
Well, because you want to call the number.
I
got
want
it.
to
Look,
call
we're
the
all
number.
excited.
I got really excited.
It is America's hottest sex talk line.
No,
I'm
it's
calling
not.
it right now.
I know. Well, Venom can call and he can let us know what they have to say. So we have, So in addition to trying to get you to rock the vote, apparently Brie Larson wanted to rock your world. Thank you. I just came up with that now. That was all right. I give it a B-. But I don't know. I think it's funny. What do you think about that, Xia? I mean, should you just never give out real phone numbers? Like, don't we have 555 for a reason? Don't we use fake phone numbers so that stuff like this doesn't happen?
I think that this is kind of a...
Wait a minute.
To talk to interesting and exciting guys free. Press 2 to connect free now.
Oh, you can connect free?
Guys,
Okay.
press 1 now. Ladies, press 2 now.
Oh, they got it for guys
the
and for ladies.
All right, don't push either of those, Venom. I know you want to run up after Buzz's phone bill, but I say don't do it.
All right. I'll listen to you.
Wow, that's a first.
Yeah, well, just because he knows that the bosses would run
Be
him out of
furious.
town.
I think it's kind of amazing.
It's just
It
so
makes,
funny.
It,
to me.
it makes me irrationally happy.
Yeah.
Just because it's hilarious.
Yeah, just it's like it should be somebody's job of like, hey, check that number before you put it.
Yeah.
And also, nobody's gonna zoom in on this. Oh, not in this day and age.
Oh no.
Somebody's always gonna zoom in if there's like, hey, is there a phone number there? So
Oh yeah, people
anyway,
have too much time on their hands.
this has done nothing for my excitement level for Captain Marvel. I'm really looking forward to it. And, Brie Larson was just trying to do something nice and be like, hey, everybody get out and vote.
Yeah.
So good for her.
Good thing.
All right. So before we talk about Daredevil, I did want to focus on a major topic for this week, which is the fact that today is Veterans Day. I believe they call it Remembrance Day in Canada. At some places, it's known as Armistice Day because today is actually the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I.
Wow.
So, yeah. Which is crazy to think about. It's been that
Wow.
long. And, some would say that we're on the verge of World War III, but I like to see the glass as, at least half full. But in any case, there are some great veterans of the Marvel Universe. And I came up with a list of 10 with a couple of honorable mentions. If I'm missing anyone, please let me know. So I put together... Number 10 and number 9, Reed Richards and Ben Grimm, Mr. Fantastic, and The Thing, they actually served together in World War II, and Ben Grimm stayed on to be a Air Force test pilot, which is, I think, why he was able to pilot the rocket ship that they took into space, led to the cosmic rays, created the Fantastic Four. Number 8, James Rhodey Rhodes, War Machine from the Air Force, and Sam Wilson, the Falcon, also from the Air Force. So you see them both right there for those watching on YouTube. A nice little Time Magazine mock-up, which I like. Number 6, Carol Danvers, who is known as Ms. Marvel / Captain Marvel. Here is a great image of her in uniform, but you see there's some mysterious blue glowing power happening there. Number 5, sort of a more recent turn in the comic books, but a nice touch for the character of Flash Thompson, who in the photo we have, he is an Iraqi war veteran. He is seated in a wheelchair. That would be him over there. And you can see that he lost his limbs in service to his country. So it's a fascinating turn of events for Flash Thompson, who was basically created as a bully character to Peter Parker in the earliest days of Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man, as it were. And then I'm not going to get bogged down to how he factors into, being sort of a superpowered, anti-hero against Carnage, and in Amazing Spider-Man 800, which I know you read because I loaned it to you.
I did just read it.
Yeah, so Flash Thompson has more than redeemed himself a couple of times over. Number 4, Frank Castle, the Punisher, not only served in Vietnam, but Marvel throughout the 80s had a series called The Nam. I think you call it the Nam, but I used to call it the Nam because what did I know? But the Nam, because it's Vietnam. And they actually had a 4-issue stretch of that series that told Frank Castle's backstory. So you got to see him as, I think he's just an infantryman. He wasn't an officer in Vietnam. And you see how he kind of develops the skull face that he has. So sort of a fascinating thing there. And obviously his service is such an important part to the character. Now, for the case of the TV series and the movies of the Punisher, obviously they have his service be from some different wars. I believe that the movie version served in the TV version served in Afghanistan. That sounds right to me. Yeah. Number 3, we have Bucky Barnes, who I don't think has a standalone photo, but you'll see him again. Let's just say we'll see him again when we get to our number 1 spoiler. But then number 2 is Nick Fury. Honorable mention, the Howling Commandos who serve with Nick Fury. And you'll remember the Howling Commandos from Captain America, the First Avenger. You see them all right there on screen. Dum Dum Dugan, always my favorite. Just it's really hard to top that guy. And they made an appearance alongside Agent Carter, I believe, in... It wasn't on Agent Carter. I think it was an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So that was a little flashback that they did. And another honorable mention, I didn't have a photo of it, but Charles Xavier, he served in Korea, the war in Korea, the Korean War, and so did his half-brother, Cain Marko, the Juggernaut. And in fact, Juggernaut was deserting the military.
Ooh.
Charlie went after him. And that's how Juggernaut found the stone that gave him his powers. So it's a great part of his backstory. Yes.
Zias Bilou in our chat actually just put that in right before you mentioned it.
Me and Zias Bilou, we're on
Zias, I'm sorry.
It's Zias. It's
Zias.
fine.
Bromance.
Thank
on
you.
the same page there.
Yeah, you know how it is, Zaya. Anyway,
I do.
So yeah, that was kind of an honorable mention because his service is not an important part of his character. Mm-hmm. It's not something that they focus on very much, but I do find it to be interesting. And of course, number 1 was where I started. It was so easy. There's no question. Number 1 is Captain America, Steve Rogers. And you see him right there from Captain America Comics number 1 from 1939, punching Adolf Hitler in the face. Now, what is more American than punching Adolf Hitler in the face? And you'll also see there's Bucky Barnes right there and the lower portion of the cover for those watching on YouTube. For me, it was kind of a fun list to put together. I actually ended up leaving Wolverine off, so he gets a 3rd honorable mention because his service was for the Canadian military, although they did retcon his history, and I think he was in not the Revolutionary War, but he's in the Civil War. But the Wolverine that I grew up with, he was part of the Canadian military, so he's getting a shout out with all of his work for Department H and all that stuff. But there were 10 great Americans that I needed to focus on. But big shout out to Logan, who also served his country up in the Great White North. And if Star Drew is watching, he'll appreciate the fact that I gave the shout out to the Great White North.
Star Drew just said Wolverine was part of Howling Commandos.
Yeah, yes, technically, I know, but that's again retcon stuff. So I try not to focus on that stuff. But yes, absolutely, he definitely fought alongside the Howling Commandos. And there is a great flashback story that I think I've mentioned on this show before, Uncanny X-Men 268. It's a flashback story that features Wolverine, Steve Rogers as Captain America, and the Black Widow. It happened during World War II, so it's a favorite story of mine. So anyway, I'm giving full credit to the Canadian military, and I don't know if any of the members of Alpha Flight also served in the Canadian military, but if they did, they will get their due. All right, so that was, I just felt like it was a fun little exercise to have, a fun thing to do, where we talked a little bit about some of the great veterans of the Marvel Universe. And by the way, most importantly, Stan the Man Lee actually served our country in World War II, and I think that's where he took up drawing funny pictures and writing stories. Anyway, so... that being that, please let us know anybody we left off in the comments if you're chatting live or if you're watching the archive version. Now, finally, sadly, we bid adieu to season 3 of Daredevil, which for those of you who watch this show every week, you
Tear.
know that real tears.
Real tears.
If only you could do extreme close up. Season 3 of Daredevil has come to an end, but for those of you who watch every week, you know that Z and I had to watch it in very specific groups of
Yes, we
4
did.
episodes at a time, stopping
Ha
at
ha.
episode 12. Yeah, I know. Venom just watched the whole thing all at once. He
All at
watched all
once.
13 screens at the same time. And we basically finally got to watch episode 13 because the latest episode of the Daredevil After Show did indeed focus on episode 13. Xia, I would like you to give us your thoughts on that episode and the season as a whole.
Okay, so that episode I loved. I loved very much the way the pacing in the episode was. I love that we got a big fight, the fight between Wilson Fisk and Daredevil.
And Daredevil. Yeah, so 2 Daredevils.
Yes,
Yeah.
was
But technically Daredevil and Bullseye.
and
but,
Bullseye.
Yeah.
But you know, he's Daredevil Bullseye right
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
Was amazing. I love that they were just beating the crap out of each other. I even enjoyed Vanessa in the background, kind of just being like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to see the man that I just married die.
Yeah.
And watching Matt save her quite a few times. So I love that. I love the way that they just kind of wrapped it up. I love seeing Karen, Foggy, and Matt back together again. That was really awesome. I didn't bring this up on Daredevil, but I also loved the idea of them starting their practice out of Foggy's brother's
The
butcher
deli.
shop, the
yeah,
deli.
Yeah.
It was a deli, yeah. I thought that was really cool. So the episode was perfect, just in the way that you get a big culmination of the entire season, and then you also kind of get it sort of wrapped up nicely, which I personally appreciate because we don't know the future of these
Yeah,
seasons.
which
We're not
we'll
sure if
talk
we're going
about
to
for
get them.
sure, yeah.
So I'm glad that they kind of didn't leave it on. I'm still frustrated with Iron Fist being canceled on that cliffhanger, and I will
Amazing
never
cliffhanger,
know. It
yeah.
was so good. And the season so far was just great. I know I said this before, but it did not feel like 13 episodes. It felt like more like 10 episodes. There were no dragging episodes. There were no dragging moments. I liked just in the sore moments that I really loved, though. I love getting Karen's backstory. I love the moments with Foggy's family. Everything about it I liked, and it fit so well. And Dex's backstory was incredible. I'm so happy.
They did a great job with him.
They did a
Yeah.
great job with that. The flashbacks, the way Fisk was just standing there and sort of watching it unfold in his living room while listening to the tapes. I love the way they did that. They didn't do just your average flashback, so that was really cool. Yeah, as a whole, I loved this season.
We'll talk more about this season, but first, Xia has an important message for all of you.
Yes, for our AfterBuzzers. Our network produces after shows for nearly all of your favorite TV shows. From dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more, there is no network that works harder to serve television fans. But we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channels, YouTube will suggest content that is tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be, because they are optional. So hit that subscribe button now for this channel and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the chat, and we'll thank you on air. For now, thank you for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV Talk.
Thank you, Xia. Yes,
welcome.
I thought that episode 13 was the most satisfying ending of what was a great season.
Yes.
I love the fact that we had the wedding of Wilson Fisk and Vanessa, and it couldn't have gone more wrong. You know, I mean, the fact that there's, you know, just that level of violence and bloodshed at the wedding, and the fact that Agent Nadim's message shows up on everyone's phone, like as they're about to have their first dance, you know, all very well orchestrated, I would say, by both Karen and Foggy, just to make sure that it had maximum impact. And yeah, everything that you said about that sequence when Matt and Dex show up at the wedding. And it was sort of an interesting thing that we left Matt at the end of episode 12, where he's determined to kill Wilson Fisk. But at some point he realizes, well, I don't have to kill him. I can get Dex to kill him, and then that's going to be a little bit easier on my conscience. And just the way that he gets that guy Felix Manning, and I love the old I'm going to drop you off the top of a building, and then the rope saves him. I love that move.
That was such a Batman move.
There's the next thing out of my mouth. That's such a No, that's fine. We're on the same page.
Yeah.
That's such a Batman thing to do.
It was
where
awesome.
it's like I fell for it, right? I'm a sucker. I'm like, oh my god, he just tossed Felix Manning out there,
too.
and I'm like, oh no, he didn't. He totally Batmaned him, and that's one of those things where you do that, and the guy's like, oh, yeah, whatever you want to know, it's fine. Here's my phone. You want to call anybody in it? Go ahead, call Dex. It's fine. But that conversation he had where he let Dex know, Wilson Fisk had Julie killed, and he's like, I don't believe you, and he's like, think about it. I'm right, and I know that there is an aspect to Dex's reaction to that piece of news that was one of your favorite scenes in the finale. So talk a little bit about that, Xia.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. That was seriously one of my favorite moments, maybe of the entire season, just because it was so dark and it was so comical, was that he took Julie from the freezer and had her defrosting body in the chair next to him in the car as he's going in to kill Fisk, and he talks to her. He said, "That's Agent Lim here." Yeah, I can't remember his name.
I can't remember it either. But
he's
I think
one
it was
of the good
something-
ones.
Yeah, yeah, and
Perfect.
it's a long way to go to be able to drive in the carpool lane. I don't know if that's really worth it, but that was great because we saw the level to which,
Yeah.
Dex was so far gone before this,
Yes.
but just that piece of information is like, no, he did that so he could become your North Star. And of course, Matt knows all that because he stole the tapes of those terrifying
Killing kittens and
yeah,
birds.
the psychiatric evaluation. Anyway, so I thought that it was a stroke of genius, mad evil genius bordering on, that he's just got Dex all ready to go. And there's questions of like, well, if you wanted him to kill Wilson Fisk, why do you even go at all? But I think that's to make sure that it doesn't go too crazy. And the majority of what Matt did when he was there was he saved Vanessa a number of times, as you mentioned. But, also I don't know, there's a debate, because we talked about this on the Daredevil After Show, whether or not Matt knew about Agent Nadim's video and if it was going to have the impact that it had.
Yeah.
If that caused him to intercede a little bit more than he would have. Give us your thoughts as to if you think Matt did know, or if maybe he just sort of came to his senses without that piece of information.
I would have to think, and I know you also said this, I would have to think that he did hear it, because he hears everything.
Everything, yeah.
And it was playing from from everyone's phone at the wedding. So I can't believe that he didn't hear it. And that might have influenced it. But I also, again, I agree with you. I don't think that he would have ended up killing Fisk. I think that he wanted to keep his humanity. And in that moment, when he tells Fisk that I'm not going to let you take that part of me away, you've taken so much else from me, that I think that you're right. He would have eventually stopped just to not be a murderer.
Yeah, I specifically had a vision of Vanessa like begging him to stop murdering her husband, who she'd been married to for like 5 minutes.
Right.
I think he wouldn't have gone through with it. I find it hard to believe. I mean, look, it's a dark story. It's a dark character. Anything could happen, but deep down inside, he's still that good Catholic boy. You know? So I think he would have intended to do it, and then he would have stopped himself, or even let someone else give him pause, where then he realizes, like, I just can't do this.
It's just like the Spider-Man comic that you lent me.
Yes.
He goes to kill the Green Goblin, and in the end, he can't do it. Granted, the Green Goblin ends up killing himself.
Because he tries to kill Spider-Man.
Right.
And his spider sense goes off, and he jumps away, and then the glider impales the Green Goblin. Exactly.
But he fully intends on doing it. But
yeah, it's true.
That's a lot.
sorry,
Yeah,
sorry,
that
Venom, my
story's
bad.
from like 50 years ago, 45 years ago. But that's all right. You're right. It was a spoiler.
I like the Green Goblin too.
He's a snazzy dresser, that's for sure.
I love this. Ghost 8386 says Bullseye, new North Star is going to be Typhoid Mary.
Wow, what a great team up that would be.
Yeah.
And that is definitely something that I personally would like to see. And so ultimately, the plan essentially works because Matt, Karen, and Foggy do work together. But then also the fact that Felix Manning lets Matt know that actually Vanessa ordered the hit on Agent Nadim. So then he has this piece of information that he can hold over Fisk. Like, it's not going to take much for me to get her behind bars. And so that's basically the deal that they make, that Fisk is going to let himself be taken away and he's not going to come out, and if there are future seasons of the show, there'll be a reason for him to come out. But at this moment, that ending works. But talk about how great it was to actually have, mostly Karen and Foggy working together, but Matt was essentially working with them, the last few episodes of the season.
Yeah, he was off doing his own thing, but still sort of within their confines of what they were doing, which I thought was cool. I loved it. I love seeing them back together again. There was one comment where in the beginning of the season where Karen comes to Foggy and Foggy mentioned something about his girlfriend thinking that he's cheating on her. He's like, great, now, which I like that they just kind of throw that in there, but then he's like, who cares? It's Karen's back. So I love that. And you can just, they had their little thing in season 1 and nothing ever came of it. So
no. Yeah. I think it's better that Karen doesn't end up with either of them. I like the working partnership that they all have. So I don't know. I know that you have hopes, don't you?
I do. I'm still shipping Karen and Matt a little bit. I think she's really good for him. Yeah. I think that she can be there for him to ground him as a friend as well. But I just think that, maybe if they were living together, she could keep a little bit of a closer eye on him.
Now, but you're not shipping Frank Castle and Karen Page?
Ooh,
because
that's a good point. They had a moment.
That's one of the only people that he can trust in his life. It's basically her and Microchip. Yeah, exactly. So,
she can have 2 boyfriends.
Yeah, not those 2.
Ivan says, I like Karen and Frank.
Karen and Frank, that would be interesting.
That would be a handful for her.
Yeah. I wonder if she's in season 2.
Ship name would be Crank.
It's not so bad. I like that, Venom.
That's a good one.
I think that, I hope that she's in season 2 of The Punisher, which I believe has already been filmed. But it'd be great to see her again. And yeah, I think that it's hard to say because the season just ended and I just watched it and I was so excited. This is possibly my favorite Marvel season, but it is inarguably one of the best. It's definitely top 2 or 3.
Great.
I just think it was so great. It didn't have lulls like, especially season 2 of Jessica Jones, and honestly, for me, both seasons of Luke Cage sort of had that point where they slowed down. And I think that this season was essentially perfect. There's little nitpicky things, but really not even much of that.
We tried to nitpick, and then then they explained it later.
Yeah,
we had
exactly.
little nitpick moments, then we were like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
never
right.
mind.
Exactly. So they definitely explained everything away. So, I hope that this isn't the end of the Daredevil series because I did enjoy the season so much. I loved all 3 seasons, really. And I hope we get to see more, especially because there's a little teaser at the end where we get to see Dex, with the little bullseye eyes. So your thought, I almost called you Karen. Karen.
I'll be Karen today. I like Karen.
Xia, your thoughts and expectations as to whether or not we're going to get more Daredevil.
Because this would be the 4th season, I'm thinking it's possible that it won't happen. But of all we're getting a season 2 of Punisher, and Sarju also I see here said Punisher season 1 has to be up there.
Yeah,
that was
it's
one of
definitely
my
up there.
Favorites. Absolutely. All right, going back now.
Yeah.
I think I'm really hoping that we're gonna get a season 4 because there are so many Daredevil stories that you can tell.
Yeah.
And I think they really set up Vanessa to be a pretty great villain.
As our friend Zach dubbed her, the Queen Pin.
Yes, the Queen Pin.
Vanessa.
Yes.
But yeah, the Queen Pin of crime would be amazing.
Yeah. And I think that would make a really good season in itself. And I would like to see more Bullseye, but I actually do kind of agree with both you and Zach that it might be a bit much in another season of Daredevil, but you could absolutely use him in The Punisher.
I would love to see him in The Punisher. Yeah. I would like to see more Typhoid Mary, whether it be in Daredevil, whether it be in The Punisher, or really anywhere. Yeah, so I'm optimistic that we get more Daredevil, but I realize that realistically, it just might not happen.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm trying to come to terms with it.
Yeah, I know it would be really disappointing because what happens with the character at that point? He's not part of the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
You know, if they were to incorporate him in, that would be amazing, you know, but I don't think that's realistically going to happen. So, I don't know. Let us know what you think. Do you think there'll be more seasons of Daredevil? Obviously, we probably all hope there'll be more seasons of Daredevil, but we unfortunately can't count on it. With Disney Plus being very upfront about that, they want it to be a lot more family friendly than that. They do have a little bit more mature content. In terms of like the Runaways on Hulu, but I just don't know if we're gonna get it, and it'd be really disappointing.
I don't have a theory. I just have an idea
Okay.
of how they could do it. How they could still have mature content on Disney Plus. Easy, just put it behind like an adult, like a parental wall, pretty much.
Yeah.
So you know how Netflix has the kids section.
Yeah, it's
on
like
it
they
now?
have the opposite of that.
Yeah, they could do like
Yeah.
the mature section of Disney Plus.
The only thing is that Bob Iger has said that they don't want to have adult content on
They're
this
shooting themselves in the
service.
foot.
I know, which maybe they'll change because I don't know, like having these series continue. But then they're also like, yeah, but we're bringing you Loki and, you know, theoretically Scarlet Witch and Falcon and Winter Soldier. So, you know, they'll be like, aren't these characters you want more? And I'm like, well,
Only if they're shooting people in the face.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly. Thank
exactly.
you, Tony.
Yeah, that's how I want
So let us know what you think, and obviously we will keep you up to date here at Marvel TV Weekly as there's any news for any future. We do know there's a season 3 of Jessica Jones.
Season 2 of The Punisher.
Season 2 of The Punisher. I don't know
Yes.
which order those are going to come in. I feel like Punisher's first, but I might be wrong.
I have a confession.
What's that?
I'm sorry. I haven't ever said this before. I didn't actually watch season 2 of Jessica Jones.
Interesting. It's not bad, but the first season's so much stronger.
The first season was one of the ones that dragged a little bit for me,
Oh, interesting.
which is, I think, a bit, and I absolutely love David Tennant.
Sure.
Like, love David Tennant.
He's great in it.
He's
but
great in it. But that season drag, it was, you know why? Because I came straight out of Daredevil.
Yeah.
That was so fast paced and so great and so amazing.
This was an adjustment for
It
sure.
was an adjustment. So I was like, oh, this season feels really long. And so I kind of just never got around to watching season 2.
Well, if you felt that way about season 1, you're not going to love season 2
Yikes.
because it's just. I thought it was still pretty good, but season 1 was so much better.
It has the same. It kind of feels like it has the same pacing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall.
But I would say check it out and all 110 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Got a lot of TV
and
to
you have
watch,
to watch
guys.
13 episodes of Runaways prior to next month's launch of season 2.
I love the Runaways.
There's a lot.
It's so good.
So, you know, you're going to just have to stay in and watch all these shows, which is what we hope all of you do. And then, of course, always tuning in for us Sunday nights at 10 Pacific. Yeah. In any case, our time with you is at an end, but that was a real, like, fast-paced lightning recap of Daredevil. So if you want a little bit more in-depth coverage of Daredevil, as I said, just look on the same channel here at AfterBuzz, and you'll find all 4 episodes that we did of the Daredevil after show, where we recapped season 13 just a few hours ago, and you can check that out. And you can check us out, as I said, next Sunday at 10, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at ChristianDMZ. And Zia, where do people find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Zia_land. It's XIA_land.
And until next Sunday, all we can leave you with, as always, Excelsior!
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.